You gotta fight about something. Now, in wrestling, usually we have a nice championship people can scrap over. But if you're further down the card, we're gonna need some new beef. So given the sports entertainment has been around a good long old while, sometimes we come up with some very interesting things. You could even call them dumb. So I am Simon Miller, and would you like 10 of these? You got it. Number 10, a stolen jacket. That's right. In 1995, Jean-Pierre Lafitte stole Bret Hart's iconic jacket. And I guess because the hitman didn't want to be cold, he was like, how dare have you done this, pirate man? Now we must have a war. That was always the best part about all of this, is that Hart didn't go to the police to report his stolen goods, and instead he wanted to settle this in a wrestling ring with wrestling rules and a big old stipulation. If I do beat you, you have to return my clothes. Bret, as always, somehow locked into this emotionally and talked about how this jacket had sentimental value because it reminded him of the Hart family. Listen, this is the untold genius of Bret Hart. How was he able to do it? We also actually got a decent program out of this because the matches were pretty damn decent, especially in the mid-90s, you know the deal. We had a bunch of cartoon characters, and while the story here was definitely cartoon, the action wasn't. So you shall laugh of it today, but of course you have to compare it to other things we had at the time. Back in 1995, well, I would consider this quite good. Number 9, a friendship bracelet. So I would bet my face that CM Punk remembered all this Bret Hart jacket fiasco. Went, you know what? Why don't we do this with jewelry? I mean, the voice of the voiceless is a massive Bret guy, as is Drew McIntyre. And you will know this because it's very, very recent. When they were having their blood feud, they were also talking about a friendship bracelet that had been given to Punk by a fan. It had CM's wife and dog's name on it. So when Drew did beat him up and stole it and started walking it around, CM Punk was so damn mad because how dare you take my sentimental trinket and act like it means nothing. Now, some fans really ragged on this, but I really appreciate us trying to do something new, and I have things in my life that mean something to me, so if an enemy took it, you damn right I'd be pissed off. But also, I think we forgot about the subtext here. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre hated each other so much, even if they were just prank calling each other, the other guy would be like, I'm gonna kill him. Punk and Drew also used those beads in their big blow-off at Hell in a Cell. That was one of the best matches of 2024. And listen, wrestling is totally weird when you break it down, so the fact they were able to work these in, round of applause. Number 8, spilled coffee. So as soon as you do hear stories like this, you know what era we're in. The Attitude Era was a very strange time. Therefore, during a backstage segment, Chris Jericho bumped into Kane and spilt coffee on him. So the Big Red Machine was like, well, I'm sorry, Chris. Now I must end you. This kicked off at the Survivor Series, and amazingly, they had 2 more matches after this due to a hot beverage. When all was said and done, Kane had been victorious, which told us a very good moral lesson: don't spill coffee on humans. Now, some like to talk about this on a deeper level to say, well, the reason Kane was so mad is because he was burned as a child and now he'd been burned by caffeine. I call BS on that one. My bet would be is that somebody had spilled coffee on Vince McMahon, and he was so irate, he was like, aha, I have an idea. But this one was stupid. Number 7, a shampoo commercial. So you knew this one was coming. Basically famous for being really dumb. There is actually a backstory to this, because that's something. Because when Booker T and Edge were meant to clash at WrestleMania, the first idea pitched was a hair versus hair match. Edge was like, well, I don't want to cut my hair. Booker T was like, I don't want to cut my hair either. So something had to change. I suppose this must have come late, because our plan B was that Edge had a shampoo commercial in Japan, and Book wanted that instead. So much like Bret Hart, they were going to settle their differences in the ring, and the winner would get the contract, and I think that's how it works. Now, actually, all things considered, this wasn't that bad, because the match itself was pretty good. But go and tell this to someone that doesn't watch wrestling, they will look at you and go, I don't really want to be your friend anymore. Number 6, eating a dog. In comparison, sheesh, this was sick. It is another angle that will last forever because, of course, the Big Boss Man and Al Snow were feuding over the hardcore title. When the Boss Man was like, I really need to escalate this, and boy howdy he did. Because around the same time, Al was running around with his dog Pepper, which he loved very much, when, and I kid you not, the former police officer kidnapped this mutt, killed it, cooked it, turned it into a dinner, and then fed it to Al Snow. I don't know what else to tell you. It also got worse because it led to the Unforgiven 1999 Kennel from Cell match, or Kennel from Hell match, whatever the hell we called it, which was a big Hell in a Cell match with dogs on the outside. But these pooches didn't know they were in a wrestling show, so they humped and they pooped everywhere. It's genuinely one of the worst matches of all time. So no, it is not good, and if this is the first wrestling you ever saw, you probably never watched again. You made the right choice. Number 5, not invited to a party. I mean, it's amazing. Somebody was furious because they didn't get a party invite. But you know the deal. Maybe it got lost in the mail. 2011 was a bizarre time for WWE though, because all of a sudden Ted DiBiase Jr., who had been pitched a future main eventer, was meant to be like this cool dude, and he was hanging out with his bros. And he sort of had a DiBiase posse, but when Hanako found out that he hadn't been invited to a shindig, yeah, that guy was really upset. Frank Camacho was so amazed by this, he told Ted, well, I'll beat him up for you. And this is how the feud began. And unless you hadn't been invited to a party recently, I don't think anybody cared. There's also no way to know who was the good guy and the bad guy, because on one side you had a couple of brats, and on the other, you had a little bit of a crybaby. There's a reason nobody talks about this today. It was crap. Number 4, stalking. And I suppose somebody stalking The Undertaker and his wife Sarah could have been okay, but the fact we picked DDP was one of the worst decisions in company history. I mean, not only was he making his debut after WCW folded, but had nobody seen Diamond Dallas Page in World Championship Wrestling, I mean, he called himself the People's Champion before The Rock, for goodness sake, because everybody loved him. It's why when he ripped off that balaclava on Raw, people gave him a mega pop because they were so excited. And then, yeah, he was all like, oh, I'm going to commit a crime around a dead man. This one sucked too. The angle itself went totally off the rails because Taker just destroyed DDP. And we also had that one match when Sarah pinned him. That was basically the end of Diamond Dallas Page's WWE career. Number 3, a mop gets destroyed. I mean, where do we even start? I'll do my best. Basically, after Perry Saturn was disciplined for beating somebody up in the ring, which was the right thing to do, we came up with a dumb gimmick where he would fall in love with a mop. And yes, you heard me correctly. Now, I think somewhere along the line, Perry just accepted this and decided to commit 100%, so he actually got it over, and I think the fans thought it was quite cute that he was in love with an inanimate object. Management saw this was getting over instantly, so they brought in Raven, who beat up Perry Saturn and one day grabbed Moppy, as they were named, and threw him or her, whatever, into a wood chipper, meaning essentially the mop was dead. You meant to be sad about this, but it was quite tough. Perry then defeated Raven on pay-per-view when there was another twist. Terry Runnels had asked for this to happen because she was jealous that Saturn was spending a lot of time with the mop. And now you have to think about that all day. It also leads us with one final question, which is, how many drugs were the creative team taking on this day? Because it was totally unhinged. Number 2, mispronunciation. So this was another bizarre choice for a feud. Somebody not being able to pronounce somebody else's name. Okay. Now this isn't even true because Chris Jericho was doing it on purpose, and every time he bumped into Fandango, he would call him like Fandab Bobbity Bee-Boo or something like that. But Fandango was already annoyed about this because he didn't think ring announcers could say his name either, even though it's pretty an easy name to say. Fandango. It meant there was only one thing for it, which was a match at WrestleMania back in 2013. And Chris Jericho actually lost this when all of a sudden fans fell in love with Fandango's theme tune, and we actually could have used this to turn him into a big star. But as WWE is wont to do, they ran that into the ground and they made it painfully uncool. There's more to this as well because Jericho came back originally to work with Ryback when it got totally changed, and he wasn't going to do this match until he sat down with The Undertaker, and the veteran told him, just go out there and do your best, which is what he did with Fan Ding Dong. Number 1, breaking an action figure. I mean, at some point, WWE was always going to do this. It's too easy. Now, it didn't do any favors for Yoshi Tatsu in 2011, especially because not only was he really a big fan of his action figures, he built himself a shrine of himself. That's a bit weird and like Hey Arnold. Now, Natalya couldn't stand this, and neither could husband Tyson Kidd, so they hunted it down and they destroyed it, and we were meant to be absolutely devastated. I wasn't that bothered. Tatsu was livid, of course, though, so challenged Tyson Kidd to a match. And I was kind of there going, bro, you know you could just replace your action figure. I'm pretty sure WWE makes a lot of them. We even took this to honor pole levels down in NXT, which actually I can see them doing in 2024, because NXT is the wackiest show on the planet. But I tell you this, my friends, it's one of the reasons I totally love it. Do you know of any other feuds in wrestling that were dumb? You definitely do. Let me know in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and subscribe. And if you would enjoy some more sports entertainment trivia, click the video on the screen. Otherwise, thank you for joining me, my friends, and I appreciate you very much. I look forward to talking to you very soon.